From the News 19 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Efren Afante. I want to give you an update on our impending weather as we get ready for it for Tuesday. There's a very large weather complex that's parked right in the heartland of the U.S. You got winter storms to the north, possibly severe storms to the south. There are so many watches, warnings, and advisories strewn through at least 2/3 of the United States. Let's first just basically concentrate on what we have right now. The National Weather Service does have a wind advisory already in effect for all of our Midland communities. This is now until tomorrow night at 9 o'clock, where we could look at sustained winds upwards of 25 to 35 miles an hour with gusts to 45, maybe 50 miles an hour. It is a little bit windy right now. We've got sustained winds coming out of the west, upwards of nearing 15 miles an hour, so it's not too bad. Has been a little bit of a windy day, but the wind is really not going to be an issue for the rest of the day and then at least into later on tonight. In addition, the National Weather Service also does have a flood warning. Now, it's not the flood warning that we would normally think of. It's a river flood warning. Current river flood warnings for the Enoree River is going to be right along from Newberry and Union counties. That goes until this Friday afternoon. And then a flood advisory for the Congaree River right by the Riverwalk, and that's going to go through until Thursday morning. And then the flood warning, this again is for the Congaree River. It's not in major flood stage, but with the amounts of rainfall that we've had and we're expecting, the riverbanks are starting to fill up just a little bit. And that's going to be from the Congaree River all the way down from Carolina Eastman down into Lower Richland, and that goes from Saturday around the area of Carolina Eastman, Saturday afternoon, to early Sunday morning down in Lower Richland. This is what is going to be occurring. It's already occurring right now. The Storm Prediction Center has an enhanced, so that's a level 3 out of 5 category risk, pretty much from southeast Texas right along the Gulf North Shore coast all the way to the Florida Panhandle, where currently Texas has 3 tornado warnings, and there's likely going to be more tornado warnings as we go throughout the evening, and then a slight risk for more severe weather as you go further inland, and then right along the areas from I-40 and point south from Texas all the way out to Alabama, and then far southwestern Florida, a marginal risk where they can see some strong storms. That's today. As we get into tomorrow, the risk covers Georgia and the Carolinas. Now, here's the key thing. Yesterday, we were under a slight risk for the Midlands. Now, pretty much everything in south central and central Georgia, all the way into South Carolina and the Palmetto State, pretty much just from the northwest Midlands and all the way down towards the coast, and then portions of eastern North Carolina are under that enhanced risk. Again, that's a level 3 out of 5. And then it gets into categories of slight to marginal for the rest of the upstate, but still, nevertheless, we're talking about the possibility of significant weather. And again, we're looking at a good portion of South Carolina and pretty much all of our Midland communities. This is what we've been seeing so far. Between the National Weather Service and the News 19 weather team, there is high confidence that there's going to be some kind of elevated impacts that's pretty much going to be anywhere in the Midlands. And we'll explain what we're looking at. First, the risk all throughout the state. There is that enhanced risk for severe warned storms. That'll be storms that have either 1-inch hail, or the greatest risk will be winds over 58 miles an hour. In addition, there is a wind risk. Now, the red area, which includes most of South Carolina, that is a slight risk. The possibility of winds exceeding 58 miles an hour. But notice these little hash marks. That hash marks indicates that there's more of a probability that any severe thunderstorm warnings that we have may have winds in excess of 75 miles an hour. So keep that in mind. And then we're not really looking at a criteria for hail, but the other one is for the tornadoes. Now, there is a slight risk for most of South Carolina. It still includes the upstate, but the hatched areas, what that means is that the slight risk means we could have a tornado warning or tornado produced that could be an EF0 or EF1. So winds possibly up to 90, 95 miles an hour associated with a tornadic supercell. The hatch marks means that we could be seeing an EF2 or greater. An EF2 would be in excess of 100 plus, exceeding to that. So that covers a good portion of South Carolina. Now, for today, and this is more like for very later on tonight and into early tomorrow morning before sunrise, there is a marginal risk for heavy rainfall in portions of the upstate. But as we get into tomorrow, Northern portions of the upstate are under a moderate 3 out of 4 of very heavy rainfall. And notice South Carolina pretty much west of I-95 all the way through the Midlands, the PD and the upstate, and even the central Savannah River area, a slight risk of heavy rainfall. And still, we're looking at that possibility south of I-95 all the way down the coast. For here specifically in the Midlands, the severe warning criteria, again, it's a level 3 out of 5, and it covers all of the Midlands. Even though far northwestern portions of Newberry and Fairfield County may be a grade down in slight, there's still that possibility anywhere in the Midlands where we could see a severe thunderstorm warning where the winds would be in excess of 58 to 60 miles an hour. Now, that's just the severe thunderstorm warnings. Again, the hatch marks, well, we're looking at the Midlands, possibly 58 to 60 mile an hour, but that hatched area means that all of our Midland communities, there is that possibility that if we have a severe thunderstorm warning, the wind gust could be in excess of 75 miles an hour. If you remember, 2 summers ago, we had a storm that came through just like that, in which we had severe thunderstorm warnings where the winds were 70 to 80 miles an hour, and we had noticeable tree damage and a few home damages from the winds, especially the trees falling over the homes in the areas of Lexington, Red Bank, all the way down to Edmond, and then points north towards Irmo, particularly around Saluda Shoals Park. That's the kind of winds that we're going to be expecting if these storms elevate to that criteria. We're not expecting any hail, but again, the big thing, of course, is the tornado risk. The slight risk, well, it covers pretty much all of us in the Midlands. Even the Northwest Midlands may be a category below, but still, the hash mark means that we could be seeing EF2 criteria of winds, which would be in excess 100 plus. So just, that's a possibility. It's not indefinite, but the potential is nevertheless there. The rainfall, again, we're not really going to be experiencing that tonight in the Midlands. We will tomorrow. And again, for us, along pretty much north of I-95 or north of I-95 for all of our Midland communities, and then south of I-95, the risk for heavy rainfall. Now, when is this all going to occur? That's the big question of all. We know that there's an increasing risk of tornado warnings that we had basically from last night. We're still looking at above average or slightly better than moderate risk for both damaging wind gusts and lightning. The heavy rainfall, though, has gone down. We are expecting heavy rainfall, but not to the point where we're going to be dealing with major flash flooding all throughout the Midlands. But we're going to be getting rainfall. Fortunately, we're not going to be looking at the extensive amount of possibly flash flooding like we possibly thought as of yesterday. Here's the timing of where everything's happening. And keep in mind these storms, the rain, the whole shebang is going to be moving from west to east. So the timing in the earliest is going to be for areas of far western Saluda and Newberry counties, and then into the central portion of the Midlands. And then for these timelines, it goes all the way to the far eastern Midlands from, say, Lynchburg all the way down to Shiloh, Turbyville, and then extended all the way down to just east of I-95 through Clarendon County, and then Lake Marion. As far as any tornado warnings, now, the tornado warnings will be in the effect that we do have either a confirmed tornado or a storm that is in the process of potentially developing a tornado. Not really a big criteria in the morning, but it does start going up around noon, and then from noon till about 6 is going to be the time frame for all of the Midlands. The concentrated time we're really looking at is somewhere after 12 o'clock to about 5. That's the potential if it should occur. As far as the severe thunderstorms, again, specifically about the winds and maybe hail, but we're not expecting the hail really, but the winds, 60, 70 mile an hour winds, and the difference between the severe thunderstorm and the tornadic warning. The severe thunderstorm warning is the winds itself. The tornadic warning is an actual wind circulation, whether we can see it or not. And the way the weather's going to be like tomorrow, we're probably not going to be able to see any of the storms that'll be circulating. We'll definitely see the rain coming down, but we're not expecting the severe storms in the Midlands to maybe start approaching areas around 10, 11 o'clock. That'll be the time frame really at the latest we start being weather aware, and then the chance elevates as we go throughout the afternoon, and then just as we get to around sunset, sunset's about 5:35, 5:25, and then it starts dissipating as we get into the late evening. The wind gusts, Now, we already have that wind advisory, so we're looking at winds possibly over or up to 50 miles an hour. The winds will start up sometime after sunrise, so give or take 7, 8 o'clock, and this is all throughout the Midlands, but it really ramps up as we get towards late morning, and then a good chance of these wind gusts all the way through the afternoon and early evening before it tapers off by later in the evening. As far as the heavy rainfall, we'll have two different waves. We'll have one wave of rainfall early in the morning. It really will start at midnight tonight and then go through at about 6, 7 a.m. Then it'll taper off briefly, but then another round comes in. That'll be the main line of showers and storms, and that will start moving in before 11 o'clock, more or less, and then continue right through into the early evening. But that's the best estimated time right now. The focal point for all of us in the Midlands to be very weather aware will be just before noon and then all the way up to about 5 to 6 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Just get yourself prepared if you have a chance now or later on tonight. If you have anything that's loose outside, for me, if it's anything that I could pick up without throwing out my back, bring it inside because it's going to get tossed around in the wind. If you have a trampoline, you might want to tie that down or break it down and stick it in the garage if you can. Keep your phones charged. There is the likelihood with the winds that are going to be that we may see power outages. So any mobile device, keep them charged. And if you haven't downloaded it yet, download the News 19 News app, because if we are broadcasting during severe weather, we'll be broadcasting on that as well. Know where your safe place is. If you live in an area where, well, there's the possibility of trees coming down, make sure that you understand where your safe place is. If it's not in your home, maybe at a neighbor's house or a relative's house that has a more sturdy structure. And absolutely positively, stay clear of any of the flooded roadways. If you can't see the hash marks on the road or the stripe line, don't even bother crossing over it because you have no idea how deep the water is. If we do get a severe thunderstorm warning, and again, specifically for the winds, the key thing when you hear it and we tell you where it is, make sure you know where the storms are and where they're heading to in relation to where you are. And if you're already at home or inside a building, just stay away from the windows and the doors. If the wind is strong enough, it starts tossing things around. You don't want to be near a window in case it starts to come through. If you are outside, find a place inside quickly and make sure it is a sturdy building. So if you're out on the road and you hear the severe thunderstorm warning, pull up on the next exit, go into one of the gas stations or retail stores and just ride it on out. And if you are literally stuck outside, don't be out in the elements. The vehicle is safer than being outside, but it's a lot more safer than being in a vehicle if you are inside a building. It's the very important things when these severe thunderstorm warnings come out. Which is to wrap up, here are the storms that are coming through, and it is a big old mess that's about to occur between now and Wednesday morning for a good portion of the United States. For us, we still have that wind advisory that continues, and then as well, we've got the winds that are not too bad now, but we also have the flood warnings, and those flood warnings cover the Congaree and Enoree River. The bottom line is that these storms, we're going to be experiencing this by tomorrow, so we need to start getting prepared and weather aware now, and then get ready as we start tomorrow. We'll have updates on all of the weather coming up on News 19, on Friends at 5, and all throughout the evening. We hope you join us then. Until then, I'm Chief Meteorologist Efren Afante. We'll see you later on for Friends at 5.